Breakfast sure smells good.
Leave it to the Saints. Brought to you by Friendly Fryer, the only choice in home cookware.
How do you follow up a game that is remarkably similar to the be-all, end-all of open-world crime games, Grand Theft Auto? It's simple. Be louder and dumber than the competition. That's exactly what developer Volition has done with each successive sequel in the Saints Row franchise, and the fourth installment is practically the climax of this continuous nosedive into the absurd. So what's the verdict on Saints Row 4? Let's find out.
Thank you. I mean it.
You're not wearing pants.
This just got weird.
The Saints have come a long way since their days as a simple street gang and pop culture icons. After saving the world from nuclear catastrophe, they have become international heroes. And you have become President of the United States of America. And none other than Keith David is your Vice President.
Well, cancer had a good run, but it's time to put it down. Good choice.
But your reign is cut short when aliens invade and Lord Zinyak traps you in a Matrix-like virtual steel port. It's up to you to save your friends and, of course, humanity. If you haven't noticed by now, the premise is utterly goddamn stupid, but compellingly so. Yet the first hour is so delightfully insane that it's almost disappointing that the events largely don't sustain the absurdity. A big problem, or positive depending on your experience with the series, is the extremely referential writing. A large portion of the missions expects you to have plenty of familiarity with the characters and past events. As someone who's only played Saints Row the Third, I frequently found myself lost. New characters are almost non-existent and don't come close to the Third's auto-tuned pimp. However, fans should enjoy their time spent with old friends. There are genuine laughs, the intro is fantastic, and there are plenty of moments that lampoon stealth games or even the Mass Effect series.
What do you want?
I'm looking for rough sex and Kinsey scares the shit out of me.
I stay on top and you don't get to talk.
Deal.
Unfortunately, the story isn't always presented the best. While you can access missions anywhere and any time, the pre-mission briefings are dry and unexciting. As ludicrous as this story has gotten at this point, I frequently found myself having to make my own fun in the game's sandbox instead of laughing with the narrative. Luckily, the game gives you plenty of tools to do so. It all begins with the returning character customization, and it's as ridiculous as ever. Even if most of the clothing is recycled, it's good to see so few of these items locked behind a paywall. And yes, you can still adjust the size of your genitals. Also, you can play as Nolan North, because why the hell not?
My fellow Americans, I know a lot of people have concerns about the Sunday, Sunday, Sunday act, but I urge everyone to remember how fucking awesome monster trucks are.
If you want an idea of Saints Row 4's gameplay, think Saints Row the Third with superpowers. Upon entering the simulation, it's not long at all until you can run at extremely high speeds and jump over buildings. By finding clusters littered throughout the city, you can upgrade these powers. It couldn't be more similar to hunting for orbs in Crackdown. Throughout the game, you gain plenty of abilities like shooting fireballs, telekinesis, among others. However, the rest of the gameplay is incredibly familiar. That is to say, the gunplay is as basic as it gets, and the driving model is still stiff. There just haven't been many improvements. Simulation Steelport is really similar to the Steelport in Saints Row the Third. The skylines definitely look different with all the alien architecture dotting the map, but all told, the city remains mostly the same. Comparisons to this just being one big Saints Row add-on are understandable, but mostly wrong. There is enough content to justify the full price. Unfortunately, many of the activities and side missions are recycled constantly. There's only so many times you'll want to participate in races or go on rampages. However, the newfound powers at your disposal really do make Saints Row 4 a much different experience than its predecessor. Gliding around the map, running up buildings, and collecting clusters is really enjoyable and one of the best aspects of this sequel. It's so useful that vehicles serve no purpose outside of a select few missions. This and the constant stream of upgrades to your powers will make you not want to go back. It definitely makes the game on the easy side, but quite frankly, you probably don't come to Saints Row for a good challenge. The rest of your tools aren't quite as game-changing, but many of the weapon upgrades are worthwhile. Customization is also nice and free. Want your pistol to look like Han Solo's blaster? Or use a pulse rifle from Aliens? Or how about a rocket launcher that looks like an ice cream cone? go for it. Many of the new weapons are also a riot, with special credit going to the dubstep gun, which fires the theme song to the Kroll Show, because everyone liked the Kroll Show. If you customize your character right and bring some gloriously stupid weapons, Saints Row 4 has potential to be a riot, yet at the same time, the mechanics, outside of the new sense of traversal, are still mostly uninspired. The bosses are bullet sponges, and while the amount of QuickTime events borders on successfully parodying other action games, that doesn't mean their frequency is welcome. I could go on about how subpar the mechanics of Saints Row 4 are, but high caliber gameplay is not why you would come here. If you want a game that gives a shit, you're in the wrong hood. You come to Saints Row to fly around a city in a hot dog suit, to fight a giant soda can named Paul, and beat guys up with a tentacle bat right out of someone's hentai fetish. If there's something that hasn't been improved since Saints Row the Third, it's the graphics. The last game wasn't exactly the top of the pack visually 2 years ago, and this doesn't look fantastic by any means today. In fact, the game's pretty janky. The frame rate drops when you push the limits of your powers, and the game froze on me during the final sections of the game. Luckily, the soundtrack is damn good. Now that there's no need for a car, you can listen to the radio stations at any time. Stations like The Mix successfully blend disparate genres like hard rock and 90s rap, and make the open world nonsense all the more nonsensical. And yes, you will hear licensed music used to bizarre effect during certain moments. Most unfortunately, the Adult Swim station does not make a return. Saints Row 4 is a shorter game than its predecessor at somewhere between 15 to 20 hours. It ends right when it needs to and doesn't overstay its welcome or suffer from an anticlimactic ending.
Good luck repairing shit now.
On one hand, at this point it's practically inconceivable to truly compare Saints Row 4 to GTA, and that's a good thing. This game is at times ridiculous in all the right ways. But on the other hand, Saints Row 4 almost doesn't go far enough. Though there is enough content for this entry to dodge expansion pack status, recycled content is still recycled content, and the story is mostly for the fans. It's fun and has its moments, but its absurdity can only make up for so much. All told, Saints Row 4 is easy to recommend to those who are already in on the joke, but doesn't accommodate newcomers very well.
I picked the right running mate. Damn right.